America, we need to wake up. Because what just happened in Minnesota isn't a small story. It's not a passing headline. It's a defining moment, a test of who we are as a nation, a test of whether our borders, our laws, and our values still mean anything at all. President Donald Trump didn't mince words during a cabinet meeting this week. In front of reporters, he said something that most politicians would never dare to say. I don't want them in our country. I'll be honest with you. He wasn't talking about some abstract policy. He was talking about Somali immigrants in the United States, specifically in Minnesota's twin cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul, home to one of the largest Somali communities in the world. And he didn't stop there. He said, somebody will say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Think about that for a moment. A president telling the truth, a truth no one else dares to speak. Not every foreign migrant can be part of the American dream. Not everyone should be welcomed unconditionally. This is where the stakes get high. Minnesota isn't just any state. It's a state where decades of liberal policies, activism, and political correctness have created pockets of dysfunction. Programs designed to help refugees and immigrants ballooned without oversight. Meanwhile, taxpayers, hardworking Americans, foot the bill. And Trump is saying enough. Enough with political correctness. Enough with ignoring the law. Enough with putting Americans last. And make no mistake, the Trump administration is acting. They are reportedly planning an enforcement operation in Minnesota targeting undocumented Somali immigrants. ICE is preparing to identify those who are illegally in the country. Hundreds are expected to be affected. And of course, the media and local politicians are screaming, this is racist, this targets American citizens. But here's the inconvenient truth. The law doesn't target ethnicity or religion. It targets illegal status. As the Department of Homeland Security said, what makes someone a target of ICE is not their race or ethnicity, but the fact that they are in the country illegally. Simple, clear, unapologetic. The law applies to everyone. But somewhere along the way, the principle of equal application of law got buried under decades of political correctness, activism, and liberal outrage culture. Meanwhile, Minnesota leaders, including Democratic Governor Tim Walz and State Senator Zainab Mohammed, are rushing to defend their constituencies. They argue that ICE will sweep up American citizens. And yes, many of the Somali Americans in Minnesota are US citizens. But here's the part the media won't emphasize. Trump isn't targeting citizens. He's targeting lawbreakers, the people who take advantage of the system, who skirt the law, who exploit loopholes. And anyone defending lawbreakers over law-abiding Americans needs to be asked, whose side are you really on? This is where President Trump's leadership shines, because he frames everything in one simple truth. America first. He didn't couch his remarks in platitudes. He didn't hedge. He said, with Somalia, which is barely a country, they have no anything. They just run around killing each other. There's no structure. Some will call this harsh. Some will cry racism. But here's the reality. He's speaking truth about conditions abroad, not about individuals who are American citizens. Somalia has been racked by civil war, terrorism, and corruption for decades. Its government has struggled to even maintain basic order. And yet, millions of Somali immigrants were admitted into the US without sufficient oversight or enforcement. Trump's point is simple. You can't take the world's chaos and dump it into America without consequences. That's not cruelty. That's patriotism. That's leadership. That's putting American citizens first. And of course, Trump didn't stop there. He turned his focus to Representative Ilhan Omar, the first Somali American elected to Congress. A politician who has spent years defending failed policies, excusing law-breaking, and attacking Trump at every opportunity. Trump didn't mince words. I always watch her. She hates everybody, and I think she's an incompetent person. Omar responded with a typical progressive attack, calling his comments creepy and saying he needs help. But let's look at the bigger picture. Trump's critique isn't personal, it's moral, it's practical. It's a question of American loyalty and governance. Omar represents the kind of liberal elite that has allowed illegal immigration to flourish, overlooked failing programs, and silenced debate under the guise of diversity or representation. Meanwhile, taxpayers foot the bill and the law is ignored. Trump is shining a light where others have hidden. And that's what leadership looks like. Why Minnesota? Why the Twin Cities? Because they are a perfect storm of policy failure and demographic complexity. Around 80,000 people, originally from Somalia, live there. Many are citizens, many are not. The cities have grown increasingly politically progressive, sheltering the issue under layers of bureaucracy and activism. Mayor Jacob Frey calls ICE enforcement a violation of due process. But what about the due process of Americans being forced to fund and accommodate unchecked immigration? Here's the metaphor. Imagine your home is under siege. You followed the rules. You pay your mortgage. You lock your doors. And yet strangers keep entering your home uninvited, not out of necessity, but because your neighbors refuse to enforce the law. That's exactly what's happening in Minnesota. And Trump is the first national leader to lock the doors and enforce the rules. Now, let's connect the dots to national security. This crackdown comes after the tragic shooting of 2 National Guard members in Washington, D.C., perpetrated by an immigrant from Afghanistan. It's another example that illegal immigration is not just a domestic issue, it's a national security issue. Trump's policies are clear. America cannot continue to gamble with its borders or its immigration system. Temporary protected status for Somali residents, visa fraud investigations, targeted enforcement. These aren't political games. They're measures to protect American citizens, uphold the law, and prevent tragedy. Meanwhile, liberal elites in Minnesota want to turn this into a PR battle, not a policy discussion. But Americans understand the truth. The safety of our citizens comes first, always. Trump's comments aren't just policy. They are moral clarity in a time of confusion. He's drawing a line. On one side, lawlessness, chaos, and weak oversight. On the other side, law, order, and the protection of American families. This isn't about race. This isn't about xenophobia. This is about protecting the rule of law and the future of our country. And it's exactly why his remarks, controversial as they may seem, resonate with patriots. Because they reaffirm the values that built America. Sovereignty, law, security, and loyalty to fellow citizens. Think of Minnesota as a mirror for America. The Twin Cities represent what happens when progressive policies are left unchecked, when cultural idealism ignores reality, when leaders prioritize optics over law enforcement. In Minneapolis and St. Paul, decades of leniency and political correctness have created pockets where the law is not applied equally, and American taxpayers foot the bill for failure. Trump's intervention is like a storm clearing the fog. It's uncomfortable, it's messy, but it reveals the truth, and only by confronting the truth can the country survive. For conservative patriots, this is more than news. It's a call to vigilance. It's a warning that unchecked immigration threatens not only borders, but the social fabric of America. It's proof that leadership requires courage to speak the truth, even when the media screams politically incorrect. It's evidence that the law must apply equally to all, without fear of elite reprisal or progressive outrage. Trump is showing leadership in the trenches, defending the American people against the consequences of decades of failed policies. And for those who believe in the sovereignty of our nation, this is a moment to stand with him, not against him. Let's get real about Ilhan Omar. She didn't just come to America. America welcomed her, gave her freedom, gave her opportunity, gave her safety. And what did she do in return? She attacks it. She mocks it. She undermines it. She treats the nation that protected her like it owes her something. Her words are not just words, they're weapons. She questions the loyalty of our soldiers. She undermines law enforcement. She casts doubt on the institutions that keep our streets safe. Conservatives see this, and we see danger, real danger, and it doesn't stop there. Her record, whispers of immigration issues, marriage questions, financial irregularities. For years, these red flags have followed her, and they're not just rumors. They are evidence of someone playing by one set of rules for herself and another for the rest of us. But the bigger problem? Omar doesn't just oppose policies, she opposes America itself. She treats loyalty like it's optional. She frames American values as if they are negotiable. And when someone in power treats this country as a punching bag, it sends a signal. Allegiance doesn't matter. Ideology does. She is more than a politician. She is a symbol, a warning, a cautionary tale. When gratitude is replaced with grievance, when national pride is replaced with personal ambition, that's when the country is at risk. And for patriots who love this nation, Ilhan Omar is a reminder. If we don't stand for America, no one else will. And that brings us to the bigger picture. Why President Trump's recent statements about Somali immigration aren't just political noise. They're about protecting America. Look, this isn't about being mean or picking on a community. It's about national security, the rule of law, and common sense. When you have a politician like Ilhan Omar openly attacking the very country that welcomed her, it's no surprise that enforcement becomes necessary. Trump isn't targeting people based on race or religion. He's targeting illegal immigration and visa fraud. He's drawing a line. If you want to live in America, you follow the rules. You respect the laws. You contribute to society, not undermine it. Minnesota's Somali community is large, and the vast majority are law-abiding citizens. But that doesn't excuse those who sneak in illegally, skirt the rules, or exploit the system. President Trump sees the danger of letting these gaps widen unchecked. That's why he's taking action, because leadership isn't about ignoring problems. It's about solving them. And make no mistake, this is about more than just Minnesota. It's about sending a message to the whole country. If America is to remain strong, if our laws are to mean anything, then illegal entry, visa abuse, and anti-American rhetoric cannot be ignored. Trump's actions are a statement. We will defend our country, our citizens, and the principles that make this nation exceptional. For conservatives and patriots, this is a moment to wake up and pay attention. It's about values. It's about loyalty. It's about ensuring that America works for Americans first. And it's a direct challenge to politicians who choose grievance over gratitude, chaos over order, and personal ambition over national interest. Then there's Governor Tim Walz. Look, this isn't about politics as usual. Walz's response to the ICE operation shows exactly what's wrong with the leadership in Minnesota. Instead of supporting the rule of law, instead of protecting American citizens and ensuring immigration laws are enforced fairly, he immediately cried foul, calling the effort a PR stunt. That's Washington-style virtue signaling at its worst, politics over principles. Governor Walz claims to support law enforcement, yet when ICE takes steps to uphold immigration laws, he positions himself as the defender of those breaking the rules. It's a classic case of prioritizing political optics over national security and legal responsibility. Conservatives see it clearly. A leader who puts partisan interests ahead of American safety is not serving the people. He's serving his political career. And let's be honest, Minnesota isn't exactly a model for enforcing immigration rules under Walz. By dismissing the enforcement operation, he's effectively saying it's acceptable to overlook illegal activity as long as it suits his narrative. That sends the wrong message to everyone, from legal immigrants working hard to obey the law to those looking to take advantage of the system. When leaders like Walz openly undermine federal efforts to maintain order, it erodes trust in governance and emboldens those who ignore the rules. Trump sees the problem, acts decisively, and refuses to bow to political correctness. Walz, he talks a good game, but when it comes to action, he shields lawbreakers while criticizing those who enforce the law. For conservatives, that's unacceptable. America can't thrive if leaders prioritize ideology over security and accountability. Contrast that with President Trump. While Walz dithers and complains about PR stunts, Trump takes decisive action to protect American citizens and enforce the law. This isn't about partisan politics. This is about national security, common sense, and fairness. Trump doesn't just talk, he acts. He's not afraid to address the reality of unsafe or failed states like Somalia or the impact their uncontrolled immigration can have on American communities. He doesn't pander to political correctness or avoid controversy. He confronts the problem head-on. Trump's approach sends a clear message. America's laws matter, borders matter, and the safety of citizens comes first. By planning targeted ICE operations in Minnesota, he is ensuring that those who are in the country illegally are held accountable. That's leadership. That's putting America first. Meanwhile, Waltz is busy grandstanding, defending a narrative that prioritizes ideology over the rule of law, and in doing so, he undermines the very communities he claims to protect. It's a tale of two leaders, one willing to make tough decisions for the good of the country, and one willing to let politics get in the way of enforcement and safety. Conservatives can see the contrast clearly. Trump's actions reinforce the principle that law and order aren't optional, they are essential. Waltz, on the other hand, demonstrates what happens when leaders value optics and political expediency over responsibility and accountability. The choice is stark, and it matters, because Americans deserve leaders who put the country first, not their political careers. Let's zoom out. What happens in Minnesota doesn't stay in Minnesota. It's a national story. It's about how we handle illegal immigration. It's about how we enforce our laws. It's about how we protect American citizens over special interests or foreign nationals. It's about how we ensure national security in an era of global chaos. Trump isn't just addressing one community, he's addressing a principle. He's asking, do we stand for America or do we stand for political convenience? The answer to that question will define the next generation. This is the core lesson. Leadership is not about being popular. Leadership is about defending your people, your country, and the rule of law. Trump's blunt remarks, his willingness to enforce ICE operations, his critique of Omar, all of it is a roadmap for patriotic leadership. For decades, the media and liberal elites have tried to frame this as hate or racism. But for Americans who understand the stakes, it's simply common sense, courage, and the defense of our nation. And patriots everywhere, from the suburbs to small towns, from the heartland to our nation's capital, need to recognize one truth. America is not obligated to accept the world's chaos. America is obligated to protect its citizens, enforce its laws, and preserve its future. Trump is saying that aloud, and America should be listening. The question for every American is this: will we reward leaders who protect us, or leaders who apologize to the world while our country suffers? Will we demand law and order, or continue down the path of chaos and political correctness? Because this isn't just Minnesota. This is a preview of what happens when a nation forgets itself, when leaders prioritize optics over truth, when citizens are treated as secondary. Trump is drawing the line. He is forcing the debate. He is giving patriotic Americans a reason to fight, to stand, and to speak the truth. And make no mistake, the time to act is now, not tomorrow, not after another tragedy, now. Because every time we ignore lawlessness, every time we excuse illegal behavior in the name of diversity or tolerance, we erode the foundation of this nation. America was built on law, order, and responsibility, on courage, on honesty, on putting citizens first. Trump is reminding us of that. He is defending it. He is forcing the country to choose. And patriots across this nation, in Minnesota, across the heartland, in every state where lawlessness threatens liberty, must recognize this is a fight for the soul of America. It's a fight we cannot lose. It's a fight for our children, our neighborhoods, our safety, our country. And make no mistake, Trump is on the front lines, and it's time for Americans to stand with him. Because if we do not, we risk losing not just Minnesota, but the America we love. And that, my fellow patriots, is a reality we cannot accept. If you want to see more stories the mainstream media won't touch, if you want the truth about what's really happening in America today, and if you're ready to stand with patriots who put this country first, then don't stop here. Click on the next video, subscribe, and stay informed, because the fight for our nation is far from over, and every American needs to know what's really at stake.